Have you ever seen something from the corner of your eye that wasn't there when you looked again? How about hearing from a friend of a friend that while they were hiking somewhere, they thought they saw something impossible? When they spoke to a ranger, there was always a simple explanation that left you unsatisfied. My name is Chris, and this is my colleague Jack, and we're senior wardens for the Creature Conservation Initiative. We protect the world from the creatures of superstition and myth, but more importantly, protect those same creatures from the world. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Blink and You'll Miss It. I'm your host Chris, and I hope you don't blink because you will miss it, and that would be catastrophic for us all.
He said the name.
Speaking of catastrophes,
Hi!
I'm here as always with my co-host Jack. How are you on this fine day?
I'm wonderful. I've been recognized as a catastrophe, and that makes me happy. I'm doing very good, thank you very much. How about yourself?
I'm coming off from the tail end of a nasty cold, so I apologize if I die live during this recording, and I promise that if there's any coughing or other painful noises that in the edit, I will absolutely amplify them 200% for maximum sympathy points, so you can send me nice messages or maybe even call me, you know, whatever works.
I've got to say it again, not your dating profile.
God damn it.
Right. Anywho,
we are talking about a very famous one today, one of the big ones. It even has its own movie.
Ooh.
And yeah, as we're fast approaching spooky season, or rather we're in spooky season and approaching the spooky climax, I thought what would be more appropriate than...
Don't call it that. We're not calling it that.
A good ghost story. So we are talking today about the Poltergeist, which is a name that is probably familiar to most people, including you, I hope.
Yeah. I've heard of Poltergeist at the very least. Trying to think. I don't think I've had much to do with poltergeists in terms of work, but you're not wrong to say I'm aware of poltergeist. I would be I'd be very bad at my job if I wasn't aware of poltergeist.
I mean,
I'm going to say
that could very
doesn't
well
necessarily
be true.
mean I'm not. Anywho,
moving swiftly on. So, Poltergeist. The name, as you might have noticed, is a German name, and it's really just a compound word of Geist, which is the German word for ghost. And Polter comes from the verb poltern, which means you make a racket, make a lot of noise. Like there's the Polterabend, Polter evening, for example, which is a tradition before marriage where people just throw porcelain stuff on the ground to make noise as a sort of good luck thing.
Okay.
I don't understand it, but it exists. Anyway.
Does it give good luck?
It's a strong maybe.
Strong maybe.
But point is, basically the name just tells you it's a loud ghost, a noisy ghost, rumbling ghost, whatever you want to call it.
Okay, I mean, efficient naming.
Yeah. That's Germans for you.
The Germans are efficient.
Yes, we are.
And I apologize for the accent.
I do not. Anyway, despite their German name and their origins from German folklore, they actually encounter pretty much throughout the entire world. You can find them in Europe, in the Americas, Australia, Asia. They're basically everywhere.
Yeah, worldwide.
Yeah.
Mr. Worldwide Ghost.
Yes. You can find them pretty much anywhere, and that is probably partly due to the fact that they are not really corporeal in the sense of matter, I guess. I'm not quite sure how that sentence was supposed to end, but what I'm trying to say is that they're not ghosts in the sense of a former living human, but what they are is very much a spectral kind of being, like amorphous.
Yeah, kind of
it's more
incorporeal.
energy than any
incorporeal kind of creature. It's not the spirit of the dead.
Exactly.
It's a actual creature, but just like with some of the ones we've dealt with, they're kind of, it's almost like they're between dimensions in a way.
Yeah, kind of. It's basically, if you imagine the field and interaction of magnetic fields and electromagnetic forces and all of that, and imagine that with such complexity that it somehow managed to, generate sentience.
Okay, yeah. So nothing to do with like different dimensions and the existence of 3D, 4D, etc. More to do.
I mean, maybe.
Maybe, but more to do with like the invisible kind of electromagnetism that exists pretty much everywhere. But you're saying it's somehow become sentient. Is that?
Yes, pretty much.
Okay. Interesting. Cool.
So at least that's how I understand it.
As you can tell, listeners, I have so little to do with them that I don't know any of this. So
yeah, I mean, I'm probably gonna butcher the science on this one. There might very well be some kind of extra dimensional nonsense going on, but I can tell you,
one day we'll get we'll get one of the science guys on, and we'll make them talk all about this.
We probably should. Yeah, judging by the amount of times we say we don't know shit about things. Do we shit? I don't remember.
I stopped trying to be family friendly.
That's good to know.
One of them.
Where was I?
Talking about like what they're made up of.
Yeah, so it is basically a creature consisting of energy, as we just said. So it's really invisible, except for very rare occasions where it somehow disturbs the atmosphere around it, and maybe you could see a flimmer or something.
Okay.
And the main reason the main way that you notice them is by their actions. So you can't see them directly, but what they do is, in line with the name, they're always very loud. They have telekinetic abilities. They levitate and throw objects. They close and open doors and windows and all that kind of stuff. They knock on things, create scratching and creaking sounds, and all of that stereotypical haunting noises is basically their entire repertoire.
So you'd say the kind of like the public persona, shall we say, of like the public perception of what a poltergeist is: loud, noisy, mischievous, banging around, causing trouble. Would you say that's accurate?
It's pretty much accurate,
okay.
Yes.
So whatever you consider a poltergeist to be, dear listener, by the sounds of it, in terms of their behaviour.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's been pretty open.
It doesn't live in the TV. That's a difference. But
so that got me. I wasn't quite expecting that.
Neither was I. I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, some of them are particularly talented with the telekinesis, and that means they can also pinch or hit or, quotation marks, bite people, which
really
feels like a bite, but there's no teeth involved, so I guess it's up to semantics whether it is a bite. But basically they're just manipulating stuff around them to achieve these effects without actually having a body or a fist to hit you with. They're just using this telekinetic force, which is very interesting sensation to be just hit in the face without anything being there.
All right. I'm trying to work out how I feel about this one, if I'm perfectly honest. It seems odd, but I'm here for it so far. Okay.
Yeah. So more things that are true from the public perception about it is they usually like living in lived-in houses or other buildings that are often visited by people. So they kind of seek out the proximity to humans. Mm-hmm. They're even often attached to a person in a household, which is often like kids or teenagers, anyone really with strong emotions, strong like brain chemistry going on.
Yeah.
And they're kind of attracted to that in some way. And that is probably mostly because they used to, back in older days, they used to feed off of people's energy in a more direct way than they really do today.
Okay, so I'm assuming you're going to get onto that, so I don't want to run ahead.
Oh, run wherever you want. But what I'm trying to say is they really used to kind of we've talked before about the nebulous concept of life force and all of that stuff, but to put it simply, there are creatures out there that kind of get nourishment from certain types of energy or emotions that people have, and they kind of suck part of that out. We've had instances of that before on the show, and it's a similar thing here.
Yeah.
Although nowadays this isn't really the case anymore, because with all the technology we have, there is so much electromagnetic radiation going on. There's a Wi-Fi, there's a cell phone signal, there is all kinds of stuff going on that they really use to basically as food for themselves, for lack of a better term.
Okay, so they essentially like feed off of signal energy,
Yes.
that kind of thing. Some kind of energy in some way. And in the past, they had to get that from living things, but now they seem to be able to just ambiently get it, is what you're trying to say?
It seems like it, yeah.
Okay.
So,
would you, just out of curiosity, would you say that's why there's been kind of a decline in poltergeists, like activity or things?
It's definitely part of the reason.
Okay.
I think they are still active, but they're not causing as much harm. So I think reports are down, even if activity still happens.
Okay.
And also, today people can make podcasts out of weird happenings in their lives. So they're just more accepting.
Yeah. You see, we don't make a podcast out of weird happenings in their life. We make a podcast out of our life. And it's weird.
Yes. Totally different. Yeah, so nowadays they're not really aggressive usually, or they're more like annoying and mischievous mostly.
Yeah.
But they're still dangerous in an indirect way, which is where we classify them as sort of pests that kind of infest houses, because due to their energetic nature, they just by existing and floating through stuff, they interfere with electricity, with electrical lines, with electric devices. And that can lead to anything from flickering light to, spontaneous fires and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Try claiming that on your insurance. It was a poltergeist.
Yeah.
Why did your house set on fire? It was a poltergeist, I swear.
Yeah, so they're really dangerous in that kind of way, even if that isn't on purpose.
Yeah.
So that's why we usually tend to remove them from the buildings if we can, especially older buildings that might have older wirings and that kind of stuff that is not as well shielded as modern technology, and that might be more susceptible to interference by these kind of creatures.
Okay, that's quite interesting. I'm curious as to how we manage to evict them, though. I'm curious as to how we do that.
Well, I'm glad you ask. There are basically two approaches. There used to be only one, really, because, as I said, they don't really have any body to speak of. They're not physical. They don't really interact with normal matter.
Yeah.
For the most part. So it's really hard to do anything to them or with them, because you can't shoot an energy field.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, but it's not gonna do much.
I mean, you can shoot at anything.
Yes, exactly. The American way. But
you can shoot all your problems away. Sorry. Carry on.
So, as I said, they live with people most of the time. So they don't seem to be able or willing, who knows, to talk to us, but they seem to understand language to an extent.
Okay.
So, whether they listen to what you're saying or not is is an entirely different thing.
Yeah.
Compare a dog that might understand your commands, but it may or may not do it depending on your relationship and everything. So basically, you could try to persuade them to leave in some way or another just by pleading with them, and that's basically where the whole exorcism business came from, because people started to professionally try to evict these things from houses and wrap that in a nice wrapper of religion.
I've got to quickly ask.
Yeah.
So exorcisms, evictions, religion, etc. When they did work and it did make the poltergeist leave, is that anything to do with the actual religion and faith that people hold? Or is it literally a case of the poltergeist has gone, sod this, they're just annoying me now, I'm going somewhere else?
yeah, mostly just that. Either being annoying or just, going along with it for whatever reason. But
could you imagine being so annoying that you've actually made a poltergeist leave? Being such an annoying person that the poltergeist decided, I'm not living with it anymore.
So the second way is a lot more dramatic, and it's really only been feasible for the last few decades thanks to scientific and technological advances. And you're probably not gonna believe this if you haven't encountered this before, but
okay.
Yeah, I would say forceful removal, as I'm gonna call it, is we've been doing that or been able to do that since I think around the 70s.
Yeah.
And there's certain technology that is necessary for this to work, and that is a way to actually see where they are. So you need some kind of vision system, some kind of goggles that help you perceive the actual being, so you know where to aim.
Wonderful.
And you just need some kind of electroplasmic accelerators to control them, and containment units to capture them, and all of that kind of stuff. And you might be thinking now, that sounds familiar. Kind of sounds like popular franchise.
I mean, it sounds like something strange coming down my street.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure. I'm not sure who to call here.
Well, you can call the CTI, because it turns out there was a certain warden before our time, obviously, Warden Spengler, who managed to get his name into the franchise.
Yeah.
Because he worked on this entire thing and divulged a bit more than he was supposed to about our technology and our practices to the movie team.
See,
and
I always thought it was more soft disclosure myself, but carry on.
Well,
bit of a plan.
I've only heard the legends, because obviously this might have been soft disclosure, who knows, but apparently there was a lot of drama back in the day because people weren't supposed to know, and he made a movie out of that. And then others were saying when it's a movie, then people are less prone to believe that it actually exists, so maybe it was a cover-up in that weird kind of way. Anyway,
maybe
what I'm trying to say is there may or may not have been a CCI operative who worked on this movie and was let go voluntarily after that for reasons.
Going yeah. Like up until essentially public, up until we kind of started doing this podcast, the CCI has been pretty much no one knows anything. We've let little bits of information come out, but not very much. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to find out that the higher ups did kind of orchestrate the release of this information.
Who knows?
But through a patsy, shall we say? But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a warden who's just gone rogue, because you know what? Sometimes they do. Sometimes a warden comes out and they feel like the information is too important to keep hidden anymore. A little bit like my Leviathan stuff. Normally, we would not even acknowledge that, but sometimes it's too important. You've got to get it.
Or sometimes you realize that you can make a lot of money from it.
I was trying to paint wardens as having integrity and,
of course,
like moral fiber, but you just went there and said, we like cash.
I mean, I do like cash. What can I say?
So do I.
I'm projecting.
I like lots of cash. If you want to know more, give me a shout.
Anywho, Ghostbusters was, before I knew any of this as a kid, it was one of my favorite movies, franchises, everything. I freaking loved it. So imagine my sheer delight learning that it is not only based on reality, but that I might be one myself, even if just for a day. Because I was the one who was called because there was something strange in the neighborhood. Well, technically nobody called me, but I was sent out there for the operation. But
I mean,
that's details.
Technically, someone in the CCI called you. Anyway.
Yeah. That works.
And you're definitely something strange walking down their street.
I am. Can't argue with that.
Second time I've used that joke, and I'm probably going to get a third
in. Probably. So what was happening was there was a children's home where, children and teenagers live who have lost their parents or
orphanage,
were removed from their parents, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Not necessarily orphanage. I'm not sure if that's the right word, because there's also people who have very much alive parents, but ones they don't want. Anyway, this particular building was having a lot of issues with phones, Wi-Fi, small fires, unexplained noises, items being strewn about, unexplained damage, all that kind of nonsense.
Yeah, all the stuff you mentioned kind of at the start.
Exactly. Basically a textbook example of all of that.
Yeah, excellent.
And problem was the management for the longest time really didn't care about it. There was some questionable people in charge back in the day, and mostly just blamed every problem on unruly kids in some way or another.
Yeah.
So the problem was kind of festering for quite a while before things changed. At some point, for unrelated reason, new management takes over the place and finally gives a damn about trying to figure out what is going on, because that is not just some kids being weird. And, they try to look into things. They have people come over and look at stuff, make some calls, and somehow this information ends up with us by someone referring them to us.
Yeah.
And, from the description, it was pretty clear what we're dealing with, even if the case seemed kind of extreme in terms of quantity and the severity of the events that they were describing, but we thought maybe they were exaggerating or whatever. But
so are we talking like quite a big kind of children's home? Are we talking a small children's home? How would you describe it?
It's a medium-sized children's home.
Okay.
Just
decent-sized building. It's not, it's not too
decent.
It's not like building. 5 rooms and a driveway or something. It's actually there's a decent size to it. It could house quite a few people.
Yeah, I think it used to be a kind of hostel before that or something.
Yeah,
so imagine that kind of size.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've got the image in my head. I can make it make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Where was I? So, we get wind of that, they call us, and we agree to deal with that. And obviously, the attempt to just convince them to leave doesn't go anywhere. And our people come back and say there's a lot going on there. So, I get sent over with 2 others, and as a team we're supposed to, capture the ghost and be done with it. And I'm very excited, honestly. It's not quite as cinematic as in the movie. There's not the enormous backpack and highly cinematic light beams and everything, but
you're a happy
still
boy.
Have the equipment. You're shooting beams, and
you're a happy boy, and you're getting to live out.
I'm a happy boy.
You're getting to live out your fantasies, yeah.
Absolutely, I love it. And also, it's one ghost. How hard can it be? So we go in, we split up to find it, and I walk into one of the rooms, and sure enough, I see it. Just as I want to radio it in, I hear one of my other teammates from the radio saying, "Hey, I found it." I'm like, What do you mean? But I found it. And then the third one chimes in, What do you guys mean? I found it. And then we regroup in the hallway, and we look around a bit more, and we realize it's not just one. This entire house is basically a breeding ground or whatever of poltergeists.
Oh damn!
I think we ended up counting like 18 of them or something in the building. Apparently if you leave them alone long enough, they attract more, or maybe they multiply in some way. I'm not sure how the reproduction works.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
That was our reaction. Holy crap. We're gonna need a bigger trap. Yeah, so basically we had to return to base to get more equipment and more people to deal with that. And we had some equipment, the containment units, even though they are not physical, you can only fit so much, so many of them in there. So we needed more of that, and people are always in short supply for our kind of work, but we managed to get another 3 people, so we had we had 2 normal teams or 3 barebone 2-people teams to work through this building, and we returned to catch them all. At this point, it's
we got a new franchise entering this, Pokemon.
Yeah, we're doing all the copyright infringement today.
Copyright deadlock. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah. So at this point, when we return, it's basically evening, and we get to work, and it takes a while. It's a big fight. They're very agitated, and we usually don't deal with multiples of them, and it turns out they do try to help each other when they're being forced in that way. Yes. Okay. I got pinched and punched and knocked over and thrown into a wall, into cabinets, into a toilet, against the ceiling, all kinds of stuff.
And then you went for the ghosts.
Didn't really fare better. Yeah, and then I went for the ghosts. Yeah, it was wild. It was absolutely wild. It was exhausting. One by one, we somehow managed to get them, but we were bruised and battered beyond recognition. I had a bunch of broken ribs and everything. It took the entire night. Basically, the sun was more or less shining again when we finally finished cleaning up this house, more or less. And yeah, the entire building after all of this is in a state of utter chaos. There was
chairs
so much destruction,
everywhere, the whole place falling down. Yeah,
everything that can shatter was shattered. Basically, the accountants were not happy with us because they had to pay for repairs and all that kind of stuff.
Ooh.
And I wouldn't
want to reimburse that one.
Yeah. But honestly, even after all that, as I was holding my broken ribs, I just thought, I'm a real Ghostbuster at the time of my life.
And that's why we do it, folks.
And that's why we do it.
Yeah, the only real question I've got then, for the end of it, is what do we do with them once we caught them?
Yeah, that's a good question, because they do seek out people. We sometimes manage to put them into fake towns, these kind of towns that governments have built in the past to test like nuclear weapons and that kind of stuff.
Oh, wow.
We managed to get our hands on a couple of these locations, and
okay.
Sometimes it's enough for them to just have a building and be happy there, even if it's not inhabited. But yeah, others just tend to float away at some point. We don't really want to keep them inside the containment units for any extended periods of time, because that feels very like unethical.
Yeah, they're creatures in their own right.
Exactly. So yeah, we try to give them places where they can be and not disturb anyone, but yeah, there's only so much we can do, really, and the only other option is to find places where we know that they can deal with it from a building standpoint and from the people that are inside it. So
fair enough. So actually, you're looking for a harmonious thing.
Yeah. We've had some success of training some of them to behave a little better.
Okay.
But it doesn't always work. But some of them you can, some of them are more cooperative than others.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. Well, I mean, is there anything else really to talk about Poltergeists?
I don't really think so. But speaking of haunted places, where do you think people online can find a place haunted by creatures beyond recognition?
Well, if you're looking for somewhere where it's haunted, where the world is haunted by creatures beyond our recognition, and certainly cursed, because that's always something we connect with ghosts and things as well, you could always go to the description of this episode in your podcast or even on YouTube and find a link to the Blink and You'll Miff It Discord, where you can talk to other people. They may or may not be some form of poltergeist. We don't know. We don't police it that well. It's the Wild West there. But in there...
Except in the UK, where they have to give their ID.
Ghosts can get hold of an ID. That's the main problem with that kind of thing. You just have to give an ID. It doesn't necessarily have to be your ID.
That's true.
But anyway, yeah. So
I wonder if ghosts can use VPNs.
Trying to think. Nord. I can't think of a ghost joke with Nord or Express or
Ghost Shark.
Ghost Shark.
That's a movie.
maybe. Yeah, I mean it is a movie as well. Ghost Shark. Yeah, Ghost Shark VPNs. That's their favorite one. Surfgeist.
That was so forced.
That was awful. Anyway, but yeah, you can go on there. You can talk to other people about it. You can invite other people to the Discord. You can mention episodes. You can ask us about creatures that you know of or you've never really heard anything about and you want to know more, because between Chris and I, we've probably seen most of them at this point, and you can just interact and get involved. And if you're lucky, you might even be there at the exact time that Chris and I are recording. You won't be able to enter the room, but you'll be able to see that it's happening, and isn't that exciting?
So exciting. Life-changing even.
Life-changing. But while they're doing that, Chris, what else should they be doing?
Well, what they should be doing is rating this podcast, obviously. You're already listening to it, so you have it open. So just give us a rating, give us a star, thumbs up, another cryptic symbol, however it works in your app of choice. Give us a comment, a subscription, so you don't miss out on future episodes, because who would want to miss out on quality content like this? Also, go back and... Exactly. Also, you can always go back and listen to old episodes, because we have been doing this for a while, and there's bound to be some kind of creature that piques your interest. So just pick one and listen to it. There's no kind of continuity. Just enter wherever you want. And most importantly, the most important thing you can do in life is sharing this podcast, because sharing is caring.
Share it to everyone.
And whenever you share this podcast, the Poltergeist gets its wings.
It makes
and when
them
it
happy.
gets its wings, it becomes an angel. That's how it works.
Yes, poltergeist become angel, and that's the flowchart to life. Poltergeist angel. And I'm going to stand by that when the religious fanatics come after us.
Absolutely. I can 100% confirm and guarantee that this is true. And you don't want to disturb the angels. They would be very mad at you for not sharing this. And they would send you straight to hell because they are angels. They can do that. Yeah. Because angels are basically God, just, tinier with wings.
Yeah, I mean, but, also, if you haven't ever seen an angel, you go look at them. You don't want to annoy them. They're creepy.
Exactly. Yeah.
proper creepy.
Except for Buffy Angel, but that's another kind of angel that poltergeists usually don't turn into.
Oh, we wish they did. But yeah. But yeah, anyway. Is there anything else really to say there, Chris?
I think we should have said a lot less.
I think that every time. But yeah. All right, then. Do you want to take us out?
Yeah, I want to take us out, but I also want to end this episode. Thank you very much for listening, for enduring all this dribble, and see you in 2 weeks for the next episode. Don't get eaten by ghosts. Goodbye.
Goodbye.